So unlike a lot of our vineyards that we work with, Evangelho is unique in that you do have these blocks that are predominantly one variety. It's still mixed. This is the Zinfandel block, but there's Zinfandel, Palomino, Alicante Bouschet, Mataro, and Carignan in it, but it's just that it is mostly Zinfandel. And the same goes for the Mataro block on its own, which is predominantly Mataro, but includes the rest of those varieties, and the Carignan as well. So what we have here is a Mourvèdre vine, or what we would say Mataro vine, which is kind of the old California way to say it. You have these kind of big round leaves with these toothy edges. The clusters, right now the berries are smaller because Mourvèdre ripens much later than Zinfandel and Carignan. But fairly large clusters, very round berries. And they also have this very upright growth pattern. This one not so much because it's been swept by so much wind, but Mataro likes to stand way up straight. And as we move over to the Zinfandel vine right here, again, this is the Zinfandel block, so this is what we're seeing most over here. But Zinfandel has a lot of these red petioles, or what connects the leaf to the shoot, and it has this just like distinct redness right here in what we call the petiolar sinus. It's very lobed, so you have all these individual lobes here, and then the fruit, you get these nice compact classic Zinfandel clusters. And Zinfandel also has a lot of what we call wings, so these kind of secondary clusters that hang off behind the main cluster. Zinfandel is a unique shaped berry that you could say is pumpkin shaped. They're wider than they are long, so like a pumpkin, and they'll actually kind of dimple at the top here like a an apple or a pumpkin would. So that's Zinfandel, and then behind it is Carignan, leafed for mildew. And Carignan is bushy. It's scraggly. It's got these leaves that are very ruffled and kind of wild. They're all kind of folded in around themselves, around where the petiole hits the leaf. And Carignan, just as a whole, is a very green vine. You're not going to see a lot of red or any sort of anthocyanin coming through in the foliage. So that's a good way to tell Carignan from afar. It's kind of all over the place. It's scraggly, and it's very green. So when we pick this, we vinify it as a block. So we would call this the Evangelho Zinfandel, even though it's not 100% Zinfandel. And likewise, we have the Evangelho Mataro and the Evangelho Carignan. And this allows us to play with the amount of each that goes into the blend every year, which is different than a lot of our vineyards because a lot of the times we're simply at the mercy of what's in the field. But in this way, certain years we play up the Mataro, certain years we play up the Zinfandel, and others the Carignan, and it just depends on what we need. Carignan is very great for its acid. Carignan, even in very hot weather, holds its acid really well and is always a very bright, lively variety. It contributes a lot of color, and also just it's a very bright and fruit-forward variety that's great in blends. And then Zinfandel is kind of your knockout flavor component of the blend. It brings a lot of sweetness and unctuous fruit character, and is just a very aromatic and smooth and pleasurable grape to drink. And then Mataro contributes a lot of structure. It's a pretty tannic variety, and it also has a very distinct savory component that it adds to the blend. It adds a lot of complexity. So it brings something beyond the fruitiness that the Zinfandel and Carignan bring. And we're really lucky to have so much Mataro in these vineyards out in Oakley because, first of all, the sand does wondrous things for the Mataro tannin, which can be very harsh. But when it's grown on sand here, those tannins remain very soft and don't overpower the wine. And then you still get that nice savory, meaty component or earthy components that Mataro naturally has. So Evangelho is unique because we do get to play with those blends more than we can in other vineyards that are just fully mixed. So it adds a little bit of flexibility in that way and is more like a modern sort of vineyard, even though it is 130 years old.